Do we hate on Scrum now? Can it be that we are slowly entering a post-Scrum era? It would seem so if you look at the recent articles and posts being written about Scrum. I just stumbled upon Maarten Dalmijn's Scrum, Failure by Design, where he's stating that perhaps Scrum might be flawed by design. Then we have David Pereira's article, Sorry Scrum, the game might be over for you. And yesterday, a friend shared a post with me, curious to hear my thoughts. It is a post starting with Scrum is a Cancer by Santiago It, and it was accompanied by a black and white image screaming, "Stop doing Scrum!" You can find it on this social media X that used to be Twitter, but apparently now allows everyone to post anything up to XXXX number of characters, by the way, losing its own character. Anyway, today is not to rant about the new Twitter, it's about my comment to Santiago's rant about Scrum. Let's go! Hi, I'm Maria and this is the Agile State of Mind. Welcome back after the summer break. How you doing? So I decided to comment on this article of the hate on Scrum because maybe the Scrum era is over anyway, but even though it is, I would like to make sure that when we hate on something, we actually hate on it and not the things around it. People love to dance on Agile's grave or declare Scrum's death just for the clicks. Santiago, though, added a touch of charm and humor to his thread. So today, I will Agile McCoach it a bit. First of all, disclaimer, there is no such thing as a perfect Scrum implementation. Scrum only exists as a concept in the Scrum Guide and in the heads of its creators. Any Scrum you see implemented is like a remix of Maria's Scrum with Joanne's events and somebody else's artifacts built into a current consulting playlist. It's their take on Scrum, and that's not Scrum's fault, or maybe it is. Well, judge away yourself. So let me tell you an anecdote. Santiago has 9 of them. 9 anecdotes expressing him killing Scrum softly. I will tell you each of them and put my little comment around them. Alright? Let's see. 1. They try to convince me that poker is a planning tool, not a game. I mean, poker faces for story estimations. Hilarious. Yeah, there is a planning poker invention out there. However, it has nothing to do with Scrum. It has to do, though, with story points and extreme programming and somebody who decided to gamify it. Isn't it funny that the first Scrum tale is not really about Scrum? It's like complaining about the cooking recipe because your scale at home is broken. 2. If you want to be more efficient, you must add process, not remove it. They had us attending the Ceremonies, a fancy name for a buttload of meetings, stand-ups, groomings, planning, retrospectives, and Scrum of Scrums. We spend more time talking than doing. Ha! I actually agree with you, Santi. In the world of all remote setup, some of these Scrum events, seriously, ceremonies, who says that? Are we summoning spirits? Anyway, I would dare say that even the daily Scrum can become a waste in this remote setup when many people work from different time zones because it can get into somebody's focus time. But wait for it. Here's the fix. Imagine a stand-up channel when everyone writes a daily recap before they clock out. Genius, isn't it? I dare to say that even the retrospective seems obsolete when done at the end of every sprint. I think both the dailies and the retrospectives had a lot of sense when we were in the office. It was like a team building event built into Scrum. And right now, do we really need them? So I would not remove the dailies, but I would make them not a daily event, rather a twice a week event. And grooming, or shall I say refinement? Why would you remove that? It's making sure you know why the heck you are building this user story. And as for the Scrum of Scrums, it's not some cult ritual. It's a meeting done for collaboration between different teams. When you scale Scrum, it doesn't appear in Scrum Guide. Again, let's maybe understand the menu before we complain about the food. 3. We prohibited laptops in meetings. We had to stand. We passed the ball around to keep everyone paying attention. That's so much fun, isn't it? And I agree, it might seem infantile. Grown-up people needing a ball to pay attention? I mean, what's next? Using building blocks for brainstorming? Let's not forget, we all have an impeccable attention span on meetings, don't we? Now, laptops banned from meetings? In a world gone virtual, are we going to conduct business via smoke signals? Is it me? Or are we complaining here about the pre-2020 world where people still wore jeans to meetings as opposed to pajama pants? 4. We spend more time estimating story points than writing software. Story points measure complexity, not time, but we had to decide how many story points fit in a sprint. Oh, not again. Here we are again with a story points complaint. Where do I start? Maybe that story points are not in Scrum? And oh yeah, I also prefer the no estimation way of things. Why would you calculate the velocity based on story points if you can just count the number of issues you have in a sprint? Easier, right? The one thing that I always say about story pointing is how else on the refinement do you know that the whole team understood what we are talking about? So if one person says a 3 and the other person says a 13, Houston, we have a problem. Many of those practices and tools that seem so infantile and are laughed about, first of all, are implemented incorrectly and the managers tend to overburden the teams with them. And second, they are made to facilitate collaboration and help the teamwork because the teamwork is king. Or if you prefer, 2 heads are better than 1. That's the real deal behind it. So let's not overcomplicate what could be just simple. Number 5, that's a real rant. I had to use t-shirt sizes to estimate software. Well, man, I had to use water glasses to measure the flour for the pancake. I feel you. 6, we are getting there. We measured how much it costs to deliver one story point and then wrote contracts where clients paid for a package of 500 story points. This is my personal favorite. A package of 500 story points. How much can it cost? This only shows how incompetent the managers were at that firm. Like, wow. That reminds me about the scene in Dumb and Dumber where Lloyd explains the suitcase filled with IOUs as opposed to money. Not as good as money, sir. But wait, have we finished ranting about Scrum and started complaining about the wrongful usage of story points in consulting companies? 7. Management lost it when they found out that 500 story points in one project weren't the same as 500 story points on another project. We had many meetings to fix this. Oh, no way! Did you fix this? I want to know. 8. Imagine having a manager, a scrum master, a product owner, and a tech lead. You had to answer all of them and none simultaneously. Oh, I hate that one myself. And the question is, who's the real manager? I bet they were trying to figure it out while competing for the power. This is very typical of Scrum, especially given that within a Scrum team there are no sub-teams or hierarchies. It's a cohesive unit of professionals focused on one objective at a time, the product goal. Last but not least, number 9, we paid people who told us whether we were burning down points fast enough. Weren't story points about complexity instead of time? Never mind. Is this a proof that the story points can lead to severe trauma? If it wasn't so, I believe he could have summarized the whole complaint to 3 points as opposed to 9, right? And then he says, I believe in agile, but this isn't agile. And I couldn't agree more. This guy had so much bad luck with the Scrum implementation. And on top of it, it feels like they paid quite a big sum for all those Scrum trainers and advisors. We brought professional Scrum trainers. We paid people from our team to get certified. We tried Scrum this way and the other way. We spent years doing it. The result was always the same. It didn't work. Now that explains the trauma. Why would you spend so many years in a company if you hated the process? And then he also says about that, I agree. If it doesn't work for you, you are doing it wrong. Scrum is anything that works for your team. And I believe that's the sales speech of Scrum. It's your fault if you're doing it badly. Well, don't get me wrong, I understand Santiago's frustration, and he's not the only one who has that frustration. I bet there are thousands of developers who have the same frustration. It sounds like he worked in this typical company when the higher-ups dipped their toes into agile, but they never really took the plunge. They hired all the best trainers, they made certifications, but it feels to me that here we are blaming the language for a bad teacher. The teacher is too strict, too serious, very bureaucratic, and overloads the class with the grammar as opposed to focusing on conversational skills. And that's the same with the framework. We can overload people with bureaucracy and processes as opposed to help them facilitate the communication and the collaboration. That's what we should be focusing on. And last but not least, I would expect a person like Santi to have read the Scrum Guide at least. Did you know it's far shorter than the shape up that you recommend? Or maybe you haven't read that either. Well, that's all for today. I hope you find those comments a little bit funny and you can see that not all Scrum Masters and Agile coaches are evil by design. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.